Please excuse any repetition with the earlier talk that Imani gave. There might be some, and these talks were independently prepared. If the spring is any indication, we're going to have a hot summer. This is not a reference to weather or climate. We've had a busy few weeks, and by we I'm referring to the broader we, the radical we that are ready to shut shit down if necessary and when necessary. The two main issues that have kept us busy are the case around Akai Gurley and the visit of the arch-racist Donald Trump to New York. Cops, when charged with crimes, usually opt for bench trials because they know that the so-called scales of justice are weighted in their favor. The balanced scales of justice is and has always been a myth. Peter Liang, the killer of Akai Gurley, however, chose a jury trial, and the jury rejected his claim of accidentally killing Mr. Gurley. They convicted him of manslaughter. 3 weeks before the scheduled sentencing, Ken Thompson, the district attorney, whose office had secured the conviction, dropped a bombshell by recommending only house arrest, community service, and probation for the reckless killing of Mr. Gurley. So the fix was in. The state always find a way to let cops off lightly if they are brought up on charges at all. The movement immediately started to mobilize for the sentencing. I believe the first action after that was the action starting at by the A train station on Pitkin and Euclid that was called by the Family and the Answer Coalition. It was a colder than expected day. It was a long rally and a long march to the pink houses and another longer rally at the pink houses. And after that, we did a walkthrough in the buildings. We think we went through 4 buildings handing out these letters that had been produced, I believe, by a group called Why Accountability. I'm not completely certain if, I believe they did, but maybe the family was also involved in that. These were letters to the judge asking for that Mr. Liang, Peter Liang, be given some jail time. So after that, the man pulled another maneuver in an attempt to pull the rug from under our feet. The sentencing was pushed back to 4/19, which also happened to be primary day. The pretext for the postponement was a hearing concerning one of the jurors. I think that this was a deliberate maneuver to try to take the sting out of the protest that was scheduled to coincide with the sentencing. The protest was not postponed. On the morning of April 14th, several hundred people held a spirited speak out across the street from the courthouse. The speakers included family members of the survivors whose children were taken from them prematurely and community leaders. The speak out was followed by a short march to the Fulton Mall, where another rally organized by the Fight for $15 was being held. Both rallies were in complete solidarity. The largest contingent in both rallies was the young people who were in the Fight for $15 campaign. The slogans that they had on their hoodies were Black Lives Matter, Fight for $15, Immigrant Justice, and I Can't Breathe. I thought that was beautiful. This is another sign that the different movements are merging, and that is a beautiful thing. That was the morning of 4/14. I will get back to this case in a minute. In the evening, the Republican Party was having a fundraising dinner at the Grand Hyatt, which is just east of Grand Central. The Shutdown Trump Coalition was formed to respond to the presence of Donald Trump and the other candidates, but primarily Donald Trump, to oppose his sexist, racist, and xenophobic message. The coalition was quickly formed and was very easy to work in. There were almost no conflicts. Of course, there's no such thing as no conflict. We have conflict even with our closest loved ones. The basic agreement was unity of message and diversity of tactics, and that is exactly what happened. The unity was based on the opposition to Trump's message and to not be a platform to support any of the other candidates. And the diversity of tactics was just that, different groups, because we are different groups. The last meeting, the last coalition meeting, I think there were 14 groups involved. And it went a little long, but it was, I thought, pretty smooth. So, on the 14th in the evening, a permitted rally was set up across the street from the hotel. Fight for 15 had an earlier rally and marched to this protest in solidarity. Soon after they arrived and the two rallies merged, groups of protesters went on unpermitted marches in an attempt to get into the hotel and to shut down the meeting. We accomplished a lot that day, but we were not able to stop it. I was a marshal for one of these contingents. In the heat of the action, we ended up as one large group as adjustments were made on the ground. We learned a lot of lessons from this action, some of which can't be divulged in a public talk. I will say that there is a qualitative difference in the attitude of the police towards activists. Some 30 or so people were arrested at different times, but it was clear that the police were avoiding making mass arrests, and they had ample opportunities to do so. I myself and many other people were trapped a few times when we tried things, and just a little door opened up and we were able to escape. And the cops, they didn't want to get a lot of people at one time. So they refrained from those arrests. They don't like us any better today than they did yesterday. But this is the result of struggle. I credit this in great part to the Black Lives Matter movement and their roving protests all over the city starting a little over a year ago. Repression breeds resistance, and that's what that is. Mass arrests bring mass press, big press, and they want to avoid that. The cops picked off people in their ones and twos. I barely escaped arrest myself through a little miracle. It was like the Red Sea parting for me. I'll explain that privately to people. I am not able to speak about what happened on the stage very much because I was preoccupied in other ways, and I hope that maybe the discussion can bring out some of that, There was one provocateur who punched a protester and was escorted away by the police. He wasn't arrested, he was escorted away by the police. It was a minor disturbance. All the people that were arrested were released by Friday evening. It would not be true to suggest that, I'm going back to the Gurley case now. It would not be true to suggest that the maneuvers of the state around the sentencing hearing of Peter Liang did not have an effect. Some people who took off from work to attend on the 14th couldn't do so again on the 19th. Me, for example. In their arrogance, the ruling class believe that they can manage and negate struggle, and sometimes they have a little success, but I think this is going to run out. Ken Thompson effectively eased the pressure on Peter Liang and put a bullseye on his own chest. The judge in the case granted his request and then some. He reduced the manslaughter conviction to the lesser charge of criminally negligent homicide, thereby negating the jury's verdict. He did not put Liang under house arrest. His punishment for killing Mr. Gurley will be community service and probation. I'm curious to know what kind of community service he's going to do, actually. A group of dedicated activists held a noisy protest, and that was what the video was of earlier, on the sidewalks outside the house of the district attorney, Ken Thompson. They loudly informed his neighbors of his complicity in the killing of black people by the police. The protesters were in good voice and even had drumming. Uniformed cops had been on the scene for some time, trying to dissuade the protesters from continuing. A little before 1 a.m., a car full of plainclothes cops arrived and immediately started to arrest people. They arrested 7 and slapped them with the bogus charge of OGA, which is obstructing government administration, among the regular charges that they give to protesters, this failure to disperse and resisting arrest is always a charge for some reason. So they were all released. 6 of the 7 were released the next night on their own recognizance. One person is still being held. He was given additional trumped-up charges, one fake charge of possession of something they said they found in his wallet, which he swears he did not have, and this is something the cops do on a regular basis. This young man is very militant, and I think the cops picked on him specifically because I wasn't there, but folks that were there told me that some of the cops were almost crying when he was insulting them because he hit them at the core. And I think that's why he was so he was brutalized. And I think he's on the Rock right now. The Rock, sorry, is Rikers Island. And there have been efforts on their way to get him out since he was in prison, in jail. He's in the Rikers now from the night of the arrest, but we might be getting him out tonight. I think the cops are playing games in that to get people released, there's jurisdictional things where they have to be present in a certain place, and they have him on multiple borough charges. They have him on something in the Bronx and something in Brooklyn, and they came up with some so-called warrant from Atlanta. And so they're playing games and they're shipping him around so that he's hard to find. This is one of the games they play to get people lost. So even when you have money to bail somebody out, you don't just necessarily get them out right away. But we're hoping to get him out soon and get him back in the streets with us. Thank you, comrades. That's my talk.